Hi, everybody. We're just getting ready to start our Zoom session, our live session on Zoom. So bear with us as we do this. How are you doing, Jen?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. We're going on live. We're live now?
This topic. No, we're getting there though.
Oh. You were talking to them like we were on.
We're actually recording though.
Oh, okay. Everything okay?
Yeah, we're getting there. Just takes a little bit. Okay. We are about to go live right about now. All right. We are now live on Facebook.
Hi.
All right. We are now live on Facebook. So welcome to our live broadcast on Facebook. We are, this is the Psychology of Everyday Success, and I'm Tim Owens.
And I'm Jennifer Owens.
Yeah, and so we just finished the radio show. Welcome. We're glad you're here. So we're gonna just shout out a few places that people were listening from for the radio show. And hopefully they've transitioned over here to our live broadcast as well. So we had some listeners in and forgive me if I say this the wrong way, Granada, Italy, Bucharest, Romania, Rome, Italy, Naturns, Italy, Gothenburg, Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden, Rochester, New York, yay, Rochester, Tappahannock, Virginia, Detroit, Michigan, Miramar, Florida, Albania, and Zurich, Switzerland. Welcome. We're glad you guys are here, and glad you're a part of what we're doing. So let's dive in. Jen, what do you think?
All right. So, well, I guess I just want to ask some general questions about intuition. Hopefully everybody kind of get a sense of what it looks like right now. But your intuition is noticing that you're in tune with yourself on a pretty much a daily basis if you can. So one of the things that you have to kind of ask yourself if you're feeling insecure in the moment, do you have peace about making decisions? How can you tell, Tim, if you have peace about making decisions? How does your gut tell you sometimes? What do you think, Tim?
How can I tell when I have peace about making a decision?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess, what's interesting for me is I feel in my gut, that things are moving in the right direction. My gut lines up with my head, if you will, right? And so I have an idea that, okay, this is the best choice I can make. And then also, though, I kind of, there's an emotion, maybe, how about we say a calmness
Yeah.
that I experience.
Yeah.
And in that process, of experiencing calmness, then I'm able to really notice that I think I'm doing the right thing.
I think I have a sense of well-being too, and fortitude almost. Like I just feel
Mhm.
strong within myself. And I think that's really something good to notice that, how do you feel, how your voice, how strong your voice is,
Mhm.
um, how do you feel like you have a backbone?
Mm.
Because sometimes I think that's what that sense of fortitude gives us. But being able to tune in and listen to your inner voice,
Mhm.
sometimes that comes with how you carry yourself as well.
True.
So I just think it's really important. Listening to my inner voice sometimes requires solitude, that quiet space that I'm in. And so um, what do you think, Tim? Do you, when you get quiet, are you
Yeah.
able to know what you're saying to yourself? I feel like I'm interviewing you.
Yes, actually, absolutely. Um, so like I like to have what I call a quiet time every morning. I've been doing that since September of 1982.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning I wake up the very first thing, and sometimes I spend a lot of time having my quiet time because I just need it. And
Yeah.
sometimes I spend, I got a lot of things happening, so I kind of abbreviate it. But I'm often doing that and just kind of trying to connect with my inner self. I spend a lot of time meditating and praying and trying to really kind of get some sort of balance around what my thinking and my feeling, the state of my being and the state of my doing, if you
I
will.
think space means a lot to me too. I have to sometimes just get in nature to tune in.
Mhm.
Because I think it's so easy for us to kind of numb out and
Mm.
choose not to deal with things.
Mhm.
We talked about numbing in the actual uh,
The radio show.
radio
Mhm.
show that we were talking about.
Mhm.
And so numbing can happen again through social media.
Mhm.
It can happen through how we sometimes just kind of um, uh, choose to use food, television,
Uh,
um,
hello.
talking on the phone or
Hello.
texting people. And the last one of the ones we talked about was engaging in other people's drama.
Mm.
How is that? How's that numbing out, Tim? What do you think?
Well, what's interesting is, okay, so uh I'm not gonna call no names, but I know like some people who like to watch the housewives of
Oh, that ain't me. Don't do that. No.
well, wait a minute.
Wait
Well,
a minute.
all those reality TV shows,
Okay,
right?
reality shows, but I don't do
Reality shows, my
housewives.
bad, maybe not the housewives, different reality, right? But all those reality shows on TV, which are really very obviously unreal, you know, but ultimately what they're doing is they want to give people the opportunity to get caught up in somebody else's drama,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And because if I get caught up in someone else's drama, I don't have to deal with my own stuff.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with myself,
Yeah.
and my circumstances. So that's really what that's about on some level. And ultimately, so that's what happens. And sometimes even in real life, right?
Hmm.
We keep people around us who cause drama.
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
keep it real? I mean, we allow people in our lives, and sometimes, and if you're not allowing people in your life who cause the drama, it's probably true because you're the one causing the drama, right?
Yeah. I try to stay drama free. And
I mean,
sometimes
yeah,
I think that's what brings me the most peace sometimes in life, just kind
sure,
of staying away from all this, the extra stuff. I don't like
exactly.
too much fluff.
Yeah, well, but I'm back in the day. I think he just passed away recently. But do you remember the Jerry Springer show?
Yeah.
All it was drama, and it was one of the most popular shows on television for a long time.
Hmm.
And it's because we want to get caught up in other people's drama, and that then allows us to not worry about our own, which means we can numb out to our own stuff, and we
Yeah.
can say, well, at least my life ain't like that, you know, that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's an answer to your question. So, is it okay if I pose a
Yeah.
question?
Mhm.
I was just thinking, like, can we talk about the juicy stuff?
Uh-oh.
Oh, see, because here's what's true, right? When we do the radio show,
Mhm.
as we're putting it together, Jen and I, we sit and we talk about what we're going to say. Yes.
Okay.
And we develop a script for the show,
Yeah.
but we don't always
Mhm.
agree, about everything, right?
Mhm.
Well, and what's true is that you can't, I mean, we only have a few minutes on the show to say much, so which is why we do the live afterward, and so that we can really begin to address some of the stuff that's really nuanced,
Mhm.
and where there might not be complete agreement between us. So we were talking this time about what it means. What is intuition? Where does it come from?
Mhm.
How do we get it? Right? How do we have it? And so I was hoping maybe we could talk more about that, because I know we talked about intuition as being sort of a gut feeling, but there's way more to it than that. Yes.
Yeah, it's way more. Way more.
Yes.
Where do
So,
you think it comes from?
woo. Okay. So in the research I've done around it, interestingly enough, so we talked about there being two stomachs, right? So
Mhm.
two stomachs, two brains. There's a brain in your head, right, which is what we're most used to, and the brain in the stomach area.
Okay.
We literally have neurons in our stomachs, exactly the same as in our brains. And,
Mm.
and what's interesting is there is this nerve that gets connected between our brain, goes all the way from our brain down to our stomach, and
Mm.
it's called the vagus nerve.
Uh-oh.
The vagus nerve, I know, right? It's like, uh-oh. So, and that nerve actually is what happens. It connects. It allows our stomach to tell our brain, wait a minute, something ain't quite right.
Mhm.
Uh, that's my intuition, my gut feeling about X, Y, Z. Yes, and so there is a physical aspect to intuition. Is what all I'm getting at. There are also spiritual aspects to intuition, right, Jen?
Yeah, there's spiritual aspects.
You
A
want to
lot of
talk about that?
times, well, I think so. I think that, like there's a there's a we have our brain, but
Yeah.
we also have a part of us, I think, inside of ourselves that God speaks to.
Mm,
And a lot of times that's highlighted by how he speaks to us through our intuition, I believe.
mm,
Some people say they hear God's voice, other people say I just had a sensing or I had a knowing.
mm-hmm,
Um, it might be how you experience your five senses, touch, taste, feel, smell,
mm-hmm,
whatever, but those are all involved in your intuitive responses.
mm,
And I think that there are ways that we can tune into ourselves spiritually, and also have a connection with our higher power, God, mine, and very much so, just kind of be led in a certain direction to make a decision. So
mm.
I believe it's spiritual as well.
Yeah, because ultimately we are not just physical
Hmm.
or even psychological, we are spiritual.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I love that saying, we are not just uh we're not just human beings sometimes having a spiritual experience, a temporary
Hmm.
spiritual experience. We're actually spiritual
Spiritual
beings
beings,
having a temporary human experience,
human experience. Right.
right, that transcends this. So what we know is that when we die, when we pass away,
Hmm.
that's not the end.
Mm.
You don't
Yeah.
just cease to exist.
You don't
There is a part
cease.
of you that is spiritual, that is eternal, that will go on. Yes.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and 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 I think that sometimes we forget to try to connect with that aspect of who we are. Um,
Hmm.
that is
Yeah.
that is our personhood. Go ahead, Jen. You
Yeah.
gonna say something?
Well, I think I just wanted to connect with the conversation around like feeling insecure versus insecure sometimes because when you're insecure, a lot of times you're being led by your feelings of fear,
Mm,
or there are other negative feelings that anxiety or whatever might be led by. But when you're in tune with your intuition, a lot of times you have that sense of confidence and security. And I think it does take some form of meditation, quiet, kind of just spending some time with yourself, listening to yourself, listening to your thoughts, in order to highlight, where you are intuitively and how you can respond to someone intuitively. Sometimes it might be talking to a friend or somebody that you know very well, talking some things through to determine what your intuitive response might be, because it's not always a natural thing for a lot of people. So I think that's a big piece of it as well. And a lot of times it's the voices that we hear. So sometimes we're hearing other people's voices and we're not hearing our own. Being able to learn and cultivate the voice inside of your head that is your own and not your parents, not your friends, not your sister or your brother,
Yeah.
but your definitive voice. Like, where is that? And how can you hold on to it and make some good decisions out of that space as well? I think a lot of times we're just saying things because our parents said that. And we have to be careful, because do we really believe that? Do we really believe what we're saying? Right?
Wow.
So it's being able to check in to determine where your truth is as well, I think.
Wow. Check in to determine where your truth is. That's really good. That's really good. What's interesting is to me is this whole thing about intuition is really a form of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Right. It's a way of knowing and being known in the world. And in the same way that cognitive intelligence is important to use in terms of getting things done, right? Through our cognition, our ability to think. Emotional intelligence is absolutely critical to being able to get things done, right? As we deal with and we manage our emotions, and we utilize them for good. What's interesting is somebody said a while back that actually emotional intelligence is likely even more important than cognitive intelligence.
Emotional
Yeah,
intelligence.
emotional intelligence, the capacity to have a relationship, honest, authentic relationship with yourself and with others.
Yeah.
Right. And so what's interesting is what they say is that people who have high cognitive intelligence often end up working for people with high emotional intelligence. So I think that's a really interesting argument and discussion that could be had. But yeah, so that's why that's one of the reasons I think intuition as a part of emotional intelligence is a big deal. It's something that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
we don't value much in our society these days.
Yeah, I think that there's intuition is just not something people normally think about. So I think listening to our bodies too. Our bodies preserve energy. Like when we don't sleep, basically we're not woke, right? So we're not fully awakened to what's going on around us. Our ability to discern, to notice people, to notice things, to notice patterns, to observe and to watch and to respond well to things. I think all of that is, something that can affect how we interact with people, how we interact with the world. So it's very important to kind of just notice, like, where are you in terms of, being able to kind of notice how your body is feeling, and are you feeding it well? Are you listening to the right things, right? Because sometimes we listen to a lot of junk, and sometimes that junk becomes our truth. And I think that's important too, to kind of notice. Is that junk that you're listening to becoming your truth? Like, I always ask people, where did you hear that? Who told you that? Where'd you get that from?
Right.
I always want to know, like, if there was somebody who told you that before you got to the table. Did you research it? How did you find that out? I think all those things are pretty important. So it's pretty important to kind of know where people get their information. I think it has a lot to do with, how we kind of hang out and, determine if we're going to believe the same, if we're going to
Wow.
believe the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Who you connect with tends to matter. One of the things you mentioned, though, going back to the whole body discussion, is
Mhm.
that, what's true is that there is a mind-body connection. There's
Mhm.
also there's a mind-body-spirit connection, right?
Mhm.
It's all connected. Spirit
Mind,
with a
body,
small
spirit.
s, right?
So you're saying intuition is all three?
Well, I'm saying that there's a they all connect with each other, and so they all impact and influence each other, right? So
Mm.
your intuition uh has a physical aspect to it. It also has a mental or emotional aspect to it, and it also has a spiritual aspect to it,
Yeah,
right? So
it's true.
just as we talk about even traumatic life events,
Mhm.
traumatic life experiences. There's a great book called um, "The Body Keeps Count."
Keep the score. The
Keeps
body
score,
keeps the
my bad.
score.
Body keeps the score, and it's talking about trauma
Mhm.
in your life and how the trauma registers literally in your body.
Mhm.
Emotional traumatic events register in your body.
Yeah.
Um, so in the same way, uh, intuition registers in our body,
Mhm.
and it helps us to move throughout the world in a way that then facilitates. So how do you go about um, really sharpening your capacity for intuition? How do you go about doing that?
Good. That's a good question.
That's
What do
pretty.
you do? Do you
Oh,
sharpen yours? I try to sharpen mine with
okay.
friends, in
Mm,
conversations on a regular basis, like at least
mhm,
like once a month or, just to hear myself talking, you know,
mm,
but also hearing from them and seeing if they have some truths to pour into me as
mhm.
well.
Sure,
Like I'll ask them certain questions or I'll kind of come to the table prepared. Hey, you got a minute? I wanted to talk something through with you. I think you do that a lot. You're often
mhm,
asking people questions.
sure.
Sometimes too much, but
Come on now.
no, but no, you asked a lot about dreams and stuff like that, and are you following your dreams, and how's your spirit? I think those are good questions sometimes to tap into, and kind of fine tune, whether you're being intuitive and have an intuitive response.
Sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think you're raising an excellent point in that it's tough to just sharpen my intuition alone,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It really requires connection with other people and
Hmm.
looking at understanding how their intuition works,
Yes.
and people who are emotionally intelligent enough to understand that they have intuition and are able to notice their own. The other thing
I got a
that
question
yeah.
though. How do you know if somebody's not emotionally intelligent?
Woo! Oh, that's a doozy right there. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I guess I don't know if we want to say
And we're
is
not
or is not.
stereotyping. Yeah, which
Well, here's the thing, it's on a continuum, right?
not
We're
on a
all
continuum.
somewhere on, there's nobody who is and not at all emotionally intelligent, and there's
Mhm.
nobody who is perfectly emotionally intelligent, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're all somewhere in the middle,
Okay.
and hopefully working towards becoming more so on a moment by moment, day by day basis. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So but I think you know people who are emotionally intelligent because wisdom tends to flow from them.
Yeah. And knowledge that makes you think or consider
Knowledge, wisdom, and the other thing is
and
that
determine.
you can watch their lives,
Yeah,
right?
you
And
can watch
see
their
how do
lives.
they interact with other people, how do they
That's true.
handle difficulty, challenge,
Hmm.
crises in
How
their
do they
life,
respond to
how do they
things? Yeah.
respond to all
Are
that?
they
How do
reactive versus responsive? Right. Yeah.
right? What kind
All
of
those
resilience do they have?
kind of resilience. Yeah.
Are they able to come? How long are they down When
And
everybody gets
are they
down.
bouncing back, right?
Exactly. When do they bounce back? You know, and you can tell that they have some level of emotional intelligence
Mhm.
by
Yeah,
noticing those things in their lives.
right.
Um,
Yeah, that's
and
good.
yeah, you know, so often what happens is when we sit down and we talk with each other, we kind
Mhm.
of let each other in on our own self-talk,
Yes.
right? So
Mhm.
this is what's going on in my head right now. And
Right.
you know, and so somebody who uh is growing in their emotional intelligence will
Yes.
challenge me to grow in my own as well, you know.
Right.
So we work at that together. We work at that together. But the other piece though is man, and this is huge to me. It's it's being able to be present,
Mm. Yeah,
right?
that's good.
Because often what happens is we want to try to live into the future, right? We want to
Right.
try to live 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days into the future. And we're
Being
all
present.
wrapped up in what we're going to do, you know, and we don't, I think if you have emotional intelligence and you can sharpen your emotional intelligence and your intuition by being present in the moment and
Mhm.
valuing the present. I had
Mm.
breakfast this morning with a friend who was telling me, Tim, I'm living my best life. I
Mhm.
was like, wow, really? He said, yeah, I am living my best life. I've never had it so good. You know, and he
Mhm.
wasn't just talking about what was going on with him externally, because I
Mhm.
mean, those are good in his life as well. But he's talking about the peace he has internally, you
Mm.
know, the capacity for calm that he has
Mhm.
internally, the
Mhm.
joy he's experiencing.
Yeah,
It
which has to be cultivated. Those
has
things
to
you
be
have to
cultivated.
cultivate. They don't
Exactly.
just pop up out of nowhere. They
Takes
have to
practice. Yeah.
be given the time, the energy, and the consideration about, and so
Mm.
that means there has to be some thought put into it about what brings me joy, what
Mm.
brings me peace, who are the people in my life that are exuding peace,
Mm.
um, and how often am I spending time with them? How
Woo.
often? So I think those are very intentional responses, right?
Yeah, right.
That are helping our intuition to grow.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
think all of that is really important.
all that's relevant. As a matter of fact, just to piggyback on that, to build on what you were saying. So this gentleman and I, we used to get together on a regular basis and
Mhm.
just kick it. I mean, you know, we would just talk. He would talk about what was going on in his life. I was talking about what's going on in my life, and we would connect in that way and build each other up,
Yeah,
edify each other, strengthen each other. So, you know, life happens, as you say, Jen, life be life, and
life be
you
life. I
know,
don't really say that, but I was
well, you
just
know, so,
copying,
well, I
copying
got it
other
from you, so
people.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But in any case, life happens, right? And it
Hmm.
happened, and so we've kind of been pulled. We haven't had opportunity to get together, or haven't taken the opportunity to get together as often as we would like uh,
Hmm.
lately. But we got together today. We were very intentional about doing that. As a matter of
Yes.
fact, I called him, shot him a text and said, "Hey man, I miss hanging with you."
Hmm.
Um, and I just want to get on your calendar. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on, and don't matter. It doesn't have to be right now. I just want to connect with you, right?
Hmm.
Spend some time with you. And he said, "Yeah, that's great. Let's do that." He told me, he shot me a date. I said, "Yeah, we can do that." And we picked a date, a location, and a time, and boom, spend some real time together, encouraging each other and edifying each other.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we forget about the people in our life that are meaningful. We talked
Mm.
about what's meaningful, needed, and what's necessary.
Oh.
And I think meaningful relationships help us.
Mm.
There's a saying that that iron sharpeneth iron.
Yeah.
Someone else who is strong
Mm.
can sharpen your iron,
Mm.
make you think about things you never thought about, help
Mm.
you to be a better person, influence your life
Mm.
positively, help you to have different perspective. But if
Mhm.
we don't take time for those relationships,
Mhm.
how will we get there? How will we have the wisdom that we need sometimes? Um,
Absolutely.
how would we even know we're not alone in going through what we are? It
Mhm.
might be that's the person who's going through the same thing,
Right.
you know, but we never know that until we intuitively got on that same page and spent that time with them.
Well, I just want to go on record as saying, I love it when you sharpen my iron. Oh, wait, we still live. Okay.
Anyway,
let me just
we're
say
talking
that.
about deep connection. We do that a lot. Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
We do a lot of deep connection.
absolutely. We connect deeply.
We go out to eat and we will go really deep sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
And so those deep connections that you have with other people, those necessary conversations, when we get stuck, who do you turn to, right? What voice are you listening to help sharpen your iron, to give you perspective on living? Because
Absolutely.
no man is an island.
No
We
man
shouldn't be living this life as if we know it all or we can do it all.
One of my favorite Bible passages says, it is not good that man should be alone. I think that's so profound. So, but here's the thing though. Can we go back to that piece you talked about, meaningful, needed, and necessary? Yeah. You know, maybe like, because what's interesting is it's important, I think, for us to do a life audit, let's call it, right? And look at the things in our lives that are meaningful, things that are needed, and the things that are necessary. Yeah. Right? And understand those. And maybe even to juxtapose them, to consider them in contrast to the things that are not meaningful, unneeded, and probably unhealthy. Okay, here we go. Woo! We got to delve into that at some point. We got to do one just on that piece, life auditing. But the point is that your intuition, right, can help you to identify the things in your life that are meaningful, that are needed, and that are necessary. They can also help you to identify the things in your life that are not that are unmeaningful, unneeded, and unhealthy. Or unnecessary. or unnecessary. Yeah. Trust me, if it's unhealthy, it's unnecessary. Yeah. So, you know, but as we identify those things, because we need to not only use our head in trying to figure that out, we also need to use our heart, right? One of the things that we talk about in therapy is you may know something up here. Yeah. Right. But do you know it? In your cognition, in your head, but until you get it down to your heart, it won't work its way out into your hands. Right. Yeah. And which is out into the world where you can actually utilize it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. I think our gut tells us to instinctively, and you know, being able to tune into your instincts when something's not right. I mean, that's an intuitive response as well. There are a lot of things that you know, are often telling us in the world that we live in when something's not right. Do we listen or do we just plow on through because we're not that tuned in? Wow. And a lot of times people just tend to plow on through and not ignore, you know, intuitive responses or the fact that, you know, spirit is speaking, the fact that, you know, something is going on in your life where you need to slow your roll, slow the pace, bring it down a little bit. You're making too many mistakes, too many errors in your life. You're missing too many people that are important. You know, it could be in your marriage. It could be in your children's lives. So are you listening to all those signs that you are given at any point? So in our virtual world out there, we see that there's some people listening. What kind of questions do you have? Because we would love to talk about them. What about you and your intuitive responses? You know, what have you had some examples of what it means to be intuitive or to be thinking about some of the people, the places, the things that affect your life? And how do you preserve yourself first? What are those things that help you to feel secure or in tune with yourself? What do you do? Because those things are important. They sure are. They sure are. Yeah, so as you watch this, feel free to post and tell us what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear from you, and we will respond.
Yeah, even if we have to come back and it's not live.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
I did want to just explore something really quickly because our time is getting ready to run short here. But that whole piece around, you mentioned instinct versus intuition. Do you think
Instinct
they're the
versus
same thing,
intuition.
or are they different?
Hmm.
Instinct versus intuition. Because I know from a male perspective, right?
Hmm.
Men, we don't tend to think about ourselves as having intuition, but we all day long think about our instincts. My instinct is to do this. I have a gut feeling that this needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? I think probably they're similar, if not one and the same.
I think one is more reason based,
Okay.
and when one is not. I think your instincts can tell you there's a reason. Like if I hear a growl behind me, there's a
Mhm.
reason why I'm thinking about flight or fight, right?
Okay. Okay.
I think intuition is a little bit more, and it's a little bit more subtle, and it's
Mm.
more like a inner voice speaking to you,
Hmm.
and you're guided by it. It gives you instruction. It helps you make conclusions. It helps you to think about and come to a final answer about something because you've
Hmm.
kind of dwelled on it and thought it through, you know. So I think
Mhm.
they're a little different. I don't think they're the same.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting discussion to have,
Hmm.
because I know that men often rely on instinct.
Yeah,
Often rely
interesting.
on instinct,
I
and
think women are intuitive
well,
more
but
so.
hold up though now, because and that's probably true.
Yeah,
But
it's
what
not
if
probably
what if
true.
no? But
It
hold up.
is
Wait, here's
true.
where I'm going with this. What if that's more so a cultural difference, and
Mhm.
by culture I mean male female culture, right?
Okay.
Rather than necessarily you know an actual difference. Like what do they say? It's a distinction without a difference.
Okay.
I don't know, because I know that at where my instincts are concerned,
Right.
often I don't have all the information that I need to make a quality decision, but I
Hmm.
have my gut feeling says this is about to happen. And so I move in a given direction based on
Yeah.
instinctively what I think could happen going forward.
I
I don't
think
know.
men I
Go
think
ahead.
men could be intuitive, but I think they have to really um kind of knock some aspects of pride off and try
Woo!
try
Come
to
on
stop being
now.
domineering and be vulnerable. The V word. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Be vulnerable and allow themselves to have deep discussions. Like, because emotional intelligence, it doesn't have a sex. It could be male or female, but men have to be willing to be emotional. And I think that's a big piece of it.
Do women?
And we're, in fact, huh?
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, in fact, like I don't know. Men seem to not always talk about how they feel. Um, it's I don't know. So I might be a kind of stereotypical.
Yeah, that's a little stereotypical. That's all right.
Not all men
We
anyway.
got our own stuff. We all got our own stuff. Um,
Um,
and you're right, but I don't know. I think that's an interesting discussion to have going forward. We may have to
come back
actually
to
do a piece around male culture versus female
male
culture,
culture
and
versus
look at
female
what that
culture.
looks
That
like.
would be a really good conversation.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, all right. You got anything else you just burning the sage in?
No, but no, I embrace men when they are willing to be, um, you know, when they are willing to be vulnerable and in conversation and share their point of views and their opinions. I think it's very important that men learn from other men, women learn from other women. And I think sometimes we're just not open to discussion about deep things. You know what I mean? So I think the deep conversations, having those even in today's society, like all that's going on with race, all that's going on with politics, all that's going on, with the world at large, we have to have the deep conversations. We have to talk about consequences. We have to talk about people having guns and mental health. You know, we got to bring those things to the table, so that people can kind of go, yeah, well, maybe you're right, you know, or, you know, maybe I should try to do something about this, or maybe I should have a voice around this, or even develop one. You know, sometimes people don't even have a point of view or opinion. So I just think that how we cultivate those things are determined by intuitive responses. And so we have to be in a space sometimes where we're offering that up and we're sharing those points of view. I have several friends that don't always agree with me. And we get into debates, and I know the same with you, Tim. I'm often debating with Tim because Tim he's never without opinion. Never.
That is not true.
No, you will think about it and you'll come up with something. So
that's what you love about me, though.
that is what I love about you. I think answers are important. And even if we don't have them, have the discussions, because I think those discussions can lead to answers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
No,
thank you all for joining us. We didn't have
we are
too many
so
comments
excited.
today, but again, please come back. Think
Yeah.
about this, because this is not an easy subject. It's very deep. And it's something I think that people have to think about, you know, in terms of intuitive responses and where they stand on that and what they believe, because it involves a lot.
Yeah, this is not likely going to be the last time we talk about this, but I think it's a really critical piece that warrants discussion. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. We are the Psychology of Everyday Success, helping you to become your best self so that you can live your best life.
Join us, and please visit our YouTube page, put in Psychology of Everyday Success, and you can find any of our past videos, including this one about intuition. And you can find us, put in Tim and Jennifer Owens, and I'm sure we'll come up. All right, take care.
Owens Group. All right, take care.
The Owens Group. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.